Welcome to the Deal Champs podcast. I am your co-host, Stratt Daddy. We have Mr. Captain America. We have the Master of Hair on. Real quick backstory on me. I got started in real estate, working for another guy. I think I was going to make a bunch of money playing football. Didn't make any money. Now we scaled 2 different companies to 7 figures. We own a 7-figure real estate portfolio. And this podcast is us giving back to our community with everything that we've gone through so you don't have to make the same mistakes that we go through. I listened to a podcast the other day of a dude who bought a business for $8 million. The seller cooked the books. Ooh. And he essentially he's losing his house. He lost the business within 2 years. That's why you listen to stuff like this. And what he didn't do is he just didn't look at their books with an accountant. He was like, no, it's going through a broker. It's fine. So that's why I listen to these podcasts. So you don't lose your house and $1 million that you saved up over your life to buy something.
Brutal.
Hope that helps. We have the Master of Hair with the nice Deal Champs Lulu on, Mr. Jason Pritchard.
What's up, guys? It's your other co-host, Jason Pritchard. Backstory on me is I worked in corporate America for 15 years, burned all the boats, and started investing full-time in real estate in 2014. Have not looked back since. Since then, we've done close to 500 deals. We've got a rental portfolio north of 100 units here in Central California. And like Stratt said, we are always trying to provide as much value to our audience as I can. And this will be a good topic today. We're going to be talking about our biggest mistakes that we've made in business. And so I think it was a Hormozy quote. This is at least who I heard it from. He goes, smart people learn from their mistakes, but the smartest people learn from other people's mistakes, right? So we'll learn sometimes from this stuff. Yeah. So that learn from stuff that we do wrong, but the best thing to do is just absorb it from somebody else and fast track everything. So hopefully you guys can learn a lot from today. That should be lots of stuff. Cause I know all of us have probably made tons of mistakes in this business. So this should be a good one today.
And then we have the Captain America wearing a hoodie because on his walk this morning, wearing his cashmere shorts, down on the beach, that he rode his golf cart down to the beach to walk to take his first meeting of the day.
I walked down to the beach this morning.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
So
Dean had to flex on us, bro. We weren't even live, and he flexed on you and me just when we were getting started backstage, bro.
Hey, it was a little overcast today on my walk to the beach this morning while I was taking my first call. It was a little cold. I was like, you know what? I could have worn a sweater. I should have thought about it a little bit more. And then I rode the golf cart to go get some tacos with my best friend who's in town right now. And I was like, I'm not making a mistake twice. I'm wearing this sweater for the golf cart ride. So
what he didn't tell you guys is that he had his staff drive to Lululemon while he was on the call to go pick up the sweater because he wanted to make sure it fit him right for when he went to the gym later.
That's not true.
Must be nice, dude. I'm gonna get Dean a must be nice t-shirt.
Yeah. What's up, guys? Dean Rogers, your other co-host. Started my career in the NFL. Then I transitioned to corporate, then to real estate. Been investing in real estate for a decade now in Central California. Billy Ferns on IG says, yo, Dean, what's up, Billy? We are very, very close to 800. We just had a deal close right here at lunchtime. We got another deal got released to record today. Guys, what's crazy and why we encourage you guys to listen to these podcasts is the stuff that you can learn. One of those deals that closed, $100,000 net profit wholesale deal. One deal, guys. What if you closed a deal that you made $100,000? What would that do in your life? That used to be something I dreamt about. I felt like I knew it was possible, but didn't quite believe that we could do it. When I invested in myself and learned and got the right training on how to do that and follow a process, that's when we started making that a habit. Now we regularly close 100,000 net profit deals. Okay. So we're close to 700 deals, got an 8-figure rental portfolio, and coaching students now how to get started with wholesaling. So you guys can always connect with me at deanrogers.com.
God damn, son. Came ready to flex today, huh?
Come on, baby. Let's go.
Yeah, I love it, dude. And I was talking to somebody, and this is actually a really good point. Somebody that I know closed a massive deal, and they were early on in the process, and somebody made a comment that it was a unicorn deal. And I told them, I said, hey, it could be a unicorn deal, or it could be your new normal, and you get to pick or choose. And that's what was really cool about what you were saying, dude. If you say that, hey, this is going to be a once-in-a-lifetime thing, then it's going to be. Or if you say, hey, this is where I want my business to go and be a regular occurrence, it's cool, man. And it's pretty dope, man. Congrats on the big fat rip. 100K rip is a nice one, especially on a wholesale deal.
Oh yeah. And real quick, Dean is not bragging. And I was talking to Jason the other day at this charity dinner, and we were talking about how much he was going to make off of this development deal. And if he's around any other types of people who aren't like business people or his friends who are like, bro, that's so dope, it'd come across as bragging, to where we're sitting there talking. I'm getting fucking hyped for him. We're diving into the numbers.
Yeah.
We're talking about the partnership. We're like, bro, this is so awesome. Bro, I can't wait for this to happen. Let me know how it goes. I connect him with someone else on a deal that he's working on. That's the type of thing that you need to do with like your community tour. That way your people are supporting you. Like, oh, bro, that is amazing. Instead of getting that, it must be nice. And then that must be nice will subconsciously pull you back if you surround yourself with a bunch of people who tell you that. Right? If you're around with a bunch of people like, oh, bro, this is awesome. Hey, how can we go bigger? It's going to be a completely different life, and you'll think better and you'll feel better about doing business. Just another quick tip right there.
That's what's so cool. Like, if you're not putting yourself around other people that are motivated, you're totally right, Stratt. You're gonna be held back because you're gonna think you're doing something wrong. What I love about doing Deal Champs with you guys is both you, Stratt, and Jason are constantly motivating and inspiring me to where I want to level my stuff up. You just closed a big deal. I want to close a big deal too. I want to be, flying high with you guys too. So that's what's cool about when you get around the right people who support you and motivate you, then you're just going to lift each other up.
I got a question for Jason. What's your favorite episode of Founders Podcast so far, bro? Have you been listening to it?
The Fish Who Ate the Whale is definitely the best one. He just released one on Sam Zell too. That was really good. Sam Zell's book is awesome, and it was cool because of the real estate aspect, but just the way that he described Zell and just how much of a dog he is, dude, and just thinking about like the scale that he's operating, and for him to sell his whole portfolio to like Blackstone or BlackRock or whoever bought him out for like at that time the largest transaction. I mean, it's just mind-boggling, dude. So Founders and All In Podcasts are my two favorite pods right now that I'm listening to. Two different ones, but those are great recommendations from you, Stratt. Appreciate it.
And then Founders, you guys, the reason I listen to it is because you learn from all these other people's mistakes and the way they run things. And this is like episodes on the Rockefellers. Like Sam Zell's is awesome because Sam Zell did it his way is one thing I like. Sam Zell did not give a fuck. He went out and raised billions of dollars. He had an entire memo saying, if you don't like my language, get the fuck out of my company. I don't care about your feelings. We are here to win. Yeah. And this is when he's running like a public company right before he sold it to Blackstone. And so stuff like that to where you can stay true to yourself and everything like that.
Yeah.
Was awesome.
Couple comments on the IG. We had Billy here say he just had a 6-figure close last week. Dude, congrats, man.
Let's go, Billy.
That's huge. That's amazing. He said exactly, think they are a regular thing and they become a regular thing. I think that's it's so important. And Chris follows that up, says, thanks for the mindset shift. What we just talked about is half the battle here, guys. If we have the right mindset and we believe it, our actions will follow. If we have the mindset and don't believe it, our actions will follow, right? Whether you think you can do it or you think you can't do it, you're right. And you've probably heard that quote before. Yeah. And it's so crazy. And even for people that are doing it, we constantly have to and always work on our mindset, right? Problems are opportunities. There's solutions to problems, right? When you have a problem in your day, or you have a problem in your business, those are opportunities to get better, to learn, to grow from there, and to potentially come out even better. So I think we all need to be working on our mindset because that is without a doubt half the battle.
Without taking this completely off track, I want to expand on what Dean said. And I think for me, this was the shift that I had, and I think it's probably similar for a lot of us. You first have to believe that you are worthy and capable of being the kind of person that can make $100,000 a month, right? Like before, like I was conditioned to think I would get a corporate job and making $100,000 a year was a lot of money. Right. That was what was programmed into my head. So Ed Milet calls it the thermostat. You have this financial thermostat in your life.
Too, bro.
And my thermostat was set at $100,000 per year of earning potential. That was Jason's earning potential because somebody programmed into me that that's what it was, dude. And you got to get all of those limiting beliefs. You got to get all those regulators, take those all off and reset that. You have to fix that first before you start making $100,000 in your bank account. Because even if you're doing all the right stuff and your marketing is there and you're working your ass off and all that stuff, if you constantly believe that you're not worthy of it and you can't do it, you're going to self-sabotage at some point. So you got to fix that while working your ass off and doing all the right things every single day.
And do not forget to hit like and subscribe. Share it with your friends. Whoever shares this and tags all three of us, I will send them this book, this Project 369 book. Show it to me. Show me the proof. I'll send it to you on Amazon. This book's been awesome, and I'll send you my favorite Joe Dispenza book too, as we're talking about mindset. Joe Dispenza, Bob Proctor changed my life. I call Bob Proctor the prophet because he is to me. He's the man. But let's get going. This episode, we're talking about the biggest mistakes we have made so far in business. And I think I put over the last 10 years, I've been in it for like 6. Jason, you've been in it for 10. Dino, you've been in it for 10?
10, yep.
All right. Let's start with Dino.
All right. So biggest regrets.
Let's go around and then we'll elaborate.
Yeah, okay. All right. So don't go on a big rant right now. Just talk about what it is and then we'll come back.
Yeah.
All right. So without going on the big long story, the short story is with me, I had this belief, and I've talked about this openly on podcasts, and maybe those that are listening have heard me talk about it, but we're going to go deeper on it. When I first got started, it was, soon after I just got done playing in the NFL, I started working corporate and money started getting tight, right? And I started living paycheck to paycheck. And then it was like, okay, bills are starting to add up. And it was like, dude, I got to do something. And that's what got me to look for something else. That's how I found real estate, by just going to Google and finding how to get started in real estate. Now, when I got started, I hustled. I got a deal in my first 3 months and started to get some deals, and then my next deal was a couple weeks after that. And it started to snowball slowly but surely. Now, within that first year, I had a clear path. I could keep doing this my own, or it was clear at the time even, and it's become even more clear now today with all the information that's available. But it came clear to me then that I could and should hire a coach or a mentor, and that would help me accelerate my results. But the truth is, and again, this is still the short version of the story. The truth is that at that time, I was too prideful and was almost embarrassed that I needed help, right? Because I made it in the NFL and now I'm starting a new career. Well, I walked away from all of what was possible from the NFL. I didn't walk away with all the money and all those things. So for me, I was prideful to ask for help. And so my biggest regret, and I'll save the rest for the other half, was not hiring a coach and mentor. And I paid a huge price as a result of it.
I'll go because mine's a little bit of, I don't want to say antithesis. Hey, there's a new word for the week, Dino. Antithesis.
There we go. Big one.
Of Dean's. You only need one mentor. You do not need to join multiple different masterminds at the beginning. Just join one. We spent like multiple 6 figures on education. And I'd say my biggest mistake was joining too many coaching groups and masterminds and spreading out my focus way too much. Over the last 6 years, we started 7 or 8 different businesses when I really didn't need to. Just because hey, there's a shiny object, we can make something happen there. Hey, there's a shiny object, we can make something happen there. And then I'd have to go pay to learn how to get that thing to the next level, to where if I would have just stayed focused and I could continue to pay the one person and I could trace it all back to joining one mastermind where I really started to bounce around way too much. If I would have just stayed focused on the one thing, you don't need all these different mentors. Pick one mentor for the one thing you're looking to do, stay in that lane until you hit $1 million net. It would honestly be my biggest thing that I wish I would have done, because I chased so many different rabbits. We started all these different businesses. Yeah, You've gotten them to 7 figures, but then I've taken brain damage from just learning how to get it from 0 to 1, let alone scale it farther with staff and everything else. Stay focused would be my biggest thing has been my biggest mistake by far.
That's a big one.
I've got a few, so I'm gonna toss them out there and then we'll go back and expand. So in no particular order, I regret being a one-man army for longer than I needed to be. And it wasn't always me as the one-man army, but I did not hire anybody at the beginning, mainly because I couldn't afford to. So it was all YouTube University and just DIY approach. And I found success, and I tricked myself into thinking, if I can do this and figure it out on my own, I can just do all this stuff on my own, right? And so I was wearing every single hat in my business for too long. 2, I should have held on to some more properties that I sold. One of the best things that I've done, and what's insulated me personally from a lot of the risk and the damage that we're seeing in the real estate market right now, is I just was so focused on buying rental properties. And I look back on some, not you can't keep everything. So I'm not saying that, but there are definitely properties that I sold that I made 15 grand or 20 grand or 25 grand on, that if I had just held on to them, I would have 250 grand in equity. You know what I mean? I probably left $3 to $5 million worth of equity on the table for properties that I did not need to sell. And looking back on that, I probably wish I would have kept some of those properties. And third is I thought way too small at the beginning. I just did not dream big enough at the beginning. And it took me a while to build and start flexing that muscle. And as I've learned to dream bigger, everything in my life has gotten better. And so I set the target way too low when I was starting up. Those are the 3 things.
Let's start with the thought way too small, because I think everybody's ashamed to think big. Like most of our people, they're really ashamed to be like, hey, I really want to go for this. And you're scared to talk about it because you think why me? And number one question would be why not me? All these other dudes are schmucks, right? They're not schmucks, but they're no better than you. Out of all the people, we talk about this all the time. You worry about the judgment and oh, well, what are people going to think? Well, if I'm running my mouth and I don't hit it, what happens next? I mean, fuck, bro, you went for it. And nobody else is going for it. That's why I did the 0 to $1 million challenge. I don't hear anybody else trying to go for it. Let's see what we can do.
Honestly, dude, I just didn't think it was possible for somebody like me. And I tell this story about the first time I met Alan. Alan mentored both of us when we were coming up, Alan Folio. And I met him at a meetup, and I had flipped 6 or 7 houses, never bought a rental, never done anything. And I met Alan there, went up to him afterwards, and I was like, dude, this guy is wired differently. I just want to see, if I can help him or provide some value to him. And I asked him what he was doing, and he goes, hey, dude, he goes, I have 12 or 15 rentals, and I'm going to buy 15 more rentals before the year was up. And it was May. And in my head, I was like, how the hell is this guy who's my age? He's younger than me, dude. How is he going to buy 15 rentals in 1 year? I didn't think shit like that was possible, bro. I thought it would have taken me 10 or 20 years to buy that many doors, dude. Yeah. And it was just looking back, going back to what you were saying, not being afraid of all the judgment, a lot of it was just me being afraid of failure. Because if I thought I set a really high bar, there was just no way that I could ever attain that. And that's really sad when you think about that, dude. It's our belief in ourselves is so small at the beginning. And I've learned how to flex and grow that muscle that now it's just calling my shot, dude, because I've done it so many times, right? I said that I'm going to do a thing and then it's done. So now when I set the target way up here, it's fuck it, it's already done, dude. You know what I'm saying? So now I don't have any problem with that belief. And I wish I would have worked on building that muscle sooner. And I know that I would have gotten more done in the last 10 years.
And for everybody, I always use this example. You have Mark Zuckerberg. Mark Zuckerberg is 40 years old. Mark Zuckerberg really just went for something that was a lot bigger than most people. Yeah. Because there's lots of pretty talented people in the world. I'm not discrediting Mark Zuckerberg, but as you're going to hey, I want to hit 6 figures, Zuckerberg's goal, vision, dreams was hey, we're going to change the internet. We're going to change the world. He achieved the outcome. Even if you didn't change the outcome with Facebook or whatever else, bro, he could have sold it at $100 million. It's still a decent outcome for what you're going for, to where most people, guys, everyone is the same as you. there are very, very few people. I've only met like one person who I've met like, man, this guy is an exceptional human. He's got a lot of horsepower behind him, but he's going to get it done.
Yeah.
One person out of all the people we've ever met. Like, if you guys ever met anybody, you're like, oh, wow, he's really talented. Most people are just like, yeah, it's a regular guy. Like, he's just out here getting it.
I agree. That's how I always feel. And that's how I would condition myself at the beginning after meeting people that I had kind of put up on a pedestal. And this is never to take away anything from anybody, but I'd always come out of those meetings feeling like, well, damn, if this person can do it, I know I can do it too, dude. You know what I'm saying? They just had a head start on the time, right? So when you use their time that they've got in the business, it starts to make it easier. And then you say, hey, okay, they've been doing this 10 years. If I put 10 years, can I get to the same place? You know what I'm saying? And so I think it's getting in proximity, really working on it, like getting rid of those old limiting beliefs and being close to people that lift you up when you try to shoot big, dude, because your friends will shoot you down at the beginning, and that will keep you like dead in your tracks when you're starting to come and like think of really big goals when you've never done anything like that before.
I would say at the beginning, you want that person who's like 2 steps ahead of you, right? They're a couple years ahead. You want to have that person in your life, but you want that person who's 10 years ahead, and you want to make sure that their life looks exactly like you want your life to look like in 10 years. Because like, if you're following the person who's like, yeah, like I buy a rental a year, if that's what you want for your life, and like you're still working as 9 to 5, that's awesome. But if you're trying to like, hey, I want to be my own business owner, I want to be able to travel all the time, I want all this. He's been in the business 10 years. This is what his life looks like. You need to have that guy too. Yeah. Right? Because there will be that one who can actually help you, because that 10-year ahead guy, there's not a lot he can help you with, because the problems he's solving are way different than the ones you're going for. And so like there's a disconnect there. And I found this, like I've like asked people, if we get Resnick on the pod, I'd have to come really, really prepared for like solid questions, because like I wouldn't be able to pull the best out of him, because what he solves every day is not what we're solving every day. So if you have that person that's a couple years ahead, bro, he's right there. He might, oh, bro, right there, do this, this, and this. You're good. And then you have that 10 person who's like a stretch goal for you. Mm-hmm. And you're like, oh, bro, this is where I'm going to be in 10 years. And it's a massive, massive difference. And as you're picking out, like when I said stay focused, picking out mentors and everything else, make sure that their life is what you want it to be. Like their fatherhood, their family, their business. What are they doing every day? Are they taking a walk in their cashmere shorts on the beach every morning for their first call? Because if that's what you want, maybe you should follow what Dino's doing, as he's not even paying attention trying to get a deal closed.
Just send an escrow wire instructions for a refinance. We're good on that.
Dino, what was your? So let's let you go on another story. Let's let you go on your story.
Yeah, let me finish the rest of the story. So when it comes to regrets, right? And I think this idea can be played out, and I think some people will kind of gloss over it and think that, oh yeah, sure. But, and shout out to Shanae. Shanae's laughing at our banter here. So the reality is, and I was actually just making a post right now while we're on the podcast. Like the biggest investment you can make for the biggest return is in yourself. And I think that going back to where I was at that time, I believed that I had to be self-made. Like this new journey I was going on, this new career I was starting at ground zero, starting from scratch. I had to do all the work. I had to create all the opportunities. I had to create all the success on my own. Now thinking back to my sports days, did I do everything on my own? No, it was impossible to. I mean, it's going to be almost impossible for any elite athlete to get to the highest levels without someone else's help. Now, there are going to be some maybe one-off scenarios, maybe. Do you still got to do the work? Yes. Everybody it always has to, no matter what. You always have to do the work. But knowing how to get there, you're only going to get there faster and get better results with the help of others. I think about the different coaches I had in sports, the very
instrumental
first
in your life. Odds are like they've been instrumental in your life. My football coaches have been instrumental. And I have a couple who I could name off who changed my life completely.
Yeah. I mean, I think about a couple pivotal points in my sports career. Before my senior year in high school, I did my very first ever speed and agility training with Frank Escobar, a local legend who was successful in his own right in sports. And my dad hired him for me to go get speed and agility. And I was way better off going into my senior year in high school. Same thing before my senior year in college. I didn't go to train with my teammates in the summer, and they gave me a hard time. But guess what? I went down to the factory down with Coach G and Olympic gold medalist Maurice Green. And they taught me how to be fast. They taught me speed and agility. And Reggie Bush was training there. Other elite.
Bro, you got out of summer workouts?
Bruh, I was at the spot, dude. And
if I got out of summer workouts, my scholarship would be pulled. It would have been mayhem.
I got out of summer workouts because we weren't as big of a program as Fresno State. So I got hell for it. But when I came back from just literally a month and a half, which was 6 sessions, when I came back to summer camp, I was flying by dudes. No joke. I got out of the car and people were kind of looking at me with side eye. And after the first rep for me running a route and flying by people that used to run side by side with me, they were like, dude, where have you been? What the hell happened to you? And it's all because I had the right training. And then before the NFL, I went up to Fresno State, trained with Steve Sabonia, old ex Fresno State speed and conditioning coach. I trained with other NFL guys, and my game just leveled up because now I'm out there running routes, catching passes against NFL guys. I'm in the gym lifting with NFL guys. My game just elevated. So going back to the first days of real estate, when I was getting started, I tried to do it all on my own. Wasn't talking to anybody, wasn't learning from anybody. Tried to do it all on my own. And I rushed in to doing some deals that ended up costing me hundreds of thousands of dollars. And that's not like on paper, oh, I lost opportunities. No, literal money out of my pocket.
Yeah.
And at the beginning, I didn't have that money to lose. Like I got absolutely like gut punched, and that set me back. And I continued to do that for several years. It literally took me 4.5 years until I hired my first coach and got the right training that I needed. And all I did was go in a big circle in that first 4.5 years. I got results, big loss. Got results to get back to zero. Then I started getting results, big loss. And to me, that was the biggest lesson that I learned, was that I couldn't do it on my own. And so I finally raised my hand, got the coaching and mentors that I needed, the right training, and started seeing the business grow. And so my biggest regret is thinking that I had to do it on my own, trying to do it on my own. And if I could go back in time, even though I thought money was tight, because it was, and I couldn't afford to hire a coach, somehow I found a way to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars in losses,
losing money on deals.
I found a way to pay for those losses, but I couldn't find a way to hire a coach. So it was egg all on my face of like, okay, you couldn't invest in yourself, but you could invest in losing hundreds of thousands of dollars. Yeah, I think you should have invested in yourself. So that was easily my biggest regret.
I will say though, in these like losses and mistakes, it forms the skill set that you've needed to get to the next level. Because when you're digging out of a 6-figure hole, every dollar counts, and you were really, really sharp on the phone because like, fuck, bro, we got to convert this so I can feel good again. Because it doesn't feel good to be in the hole. Oh. And so you're out there just grinding it out. Fucking, all right, we got to get this thing done. We got to get this thing done. But that turns you into the man you need to be in order to get to that next level. Because the one thing I goes, oh, I can get there all the time. You didn't build the base. I'm a very, very firm believer of building the skill set and building the human man or woman you need to be if you want to take that next level. And at the beginning, it's like sales and marketing skills. After that, we got to build ourselves as a leader in order to get there, or else everything will come crumbling down again. And so all these massive mistakes we made, they show us where our flaws are. and then it shows us where we need to build, and then you build that, and then Dean's, we're on deal 800. The reason that motor started churning and the deal started churning, there was no choice. The only thing we can fucking do is do more deals.
Yeah,
because you're going to run through a lot of ups and downs in this. And so as these massive losses come from like these big mistakes that we will all share, that's what's formulated our skill sets and our mindsets. And okay, here's what I need to do. Here's how I'm going to get to the next level. Because the big thing is a lot of people just give up altogether when they hit that roadblock and they tap out. They're just like, hey, I'm done. I'm not doing it anymore. One of my mentors always talks about there's a bunch of dudes who still talk about how they lost their ass in 2008. Bro, it's over 10 years later. The BK is off. If you really were about it, you'd be out in the market again, trying to do more deals, trying to build yourself back up again. Sorry, Jason, what were you going to say?
I was going to say, dude, the losses give you a frame of reference that allow you not to get rattled, bro. Like I've gone through so much, bro, been through so many different challenges, started with nothing, that the idea, like if I lost everything, I'm not going to sit here and lie and act like I'd be happy, but I would not be rattled if I had never gone through like what feels like to me much worse experiences when I was first starting out, dude. So if this is the worst possible thing that could happen is that I lose money on a deal or I got to sell a couple rentals just to get out of a hole or do something, right? That's nothing compared to what I did to get here. So my frame of reference is one where you don't get easily rattled because you've overcome all of these challenges. You know what I'm saying? And so it builds this really thick skin that's required as you keep ascending and trying to break through to these next plateaus, dude. Because as soon as you break through to the new level, only going to get harder, dude. It immediately gets harder. Immediately problems become more complex. The people that you're dealing with, it's more intimidating. You know what I'm saying? You're just dealing with higher caliber people. And it's like, you feel like, oh shit, I'm making it and I'm crushing it right here. And as soon as you want to ascend, then you've got all new sets of stuff to deal with, dude. And if you haven't overcome challenges on that upward trajectory, you're going to get smacked around at some point, dude. And so I would be very weary of somebody that's like, I've never lost money on a deal, or I've never done this, or I've never blah, 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 dude. Yeah.
Be scared of that person. What's funny is I think about this, right? And I think about the context of like, I went through that pain. I went through those challenges, and it definitely helped build some skills of being resourceful and being mindful and careful about your resources and making the most of them. It made me appreciate the wins even more. But here's the thing that's interesting, right? Okay, so should I have gotten coaching or should I have not gotten coaching when I got started? I definitely, without a question, should have still gotten coaching from the beginning, and here's why. It would have put me on a different path of doing more of the right stuff sooner. I still would have made mistakes, probably not as big. Okay. Would have helped minimize my mistakes or reduce them. And as I'm going through those mistakes, I'm learning from the others. I'm learning from someone else who has already been through that. I'm learning how to overcome it. Right. We just talked about this at the beginning of, right. You can learn from your own mistakes, or you can get better results from learning from others. Right. Or you can skip that and learn from others. I'd much rather learn from others. I'm still going to make some mistakes, but just help myself get there faster. And I think about not only the actual money that I lost, I think about the time that I lost, which is unmeasurable during that time, right? Jason, you said, I wish I would have kept more properties, right? I wish I would have gotten better results sooner. During that 4.5, almost 5 years of getting results, making mistakes, getting results, making mistakes. What if I was just mainly focused on getting results and doing more of the right thing sooner and been forced to think bigger? The compounding effect of getting the results I was wanting sooner and earlier in a 5-year period of time, maybe I'd be where I'm at now in that 5 years, right? Now look at me 5 years later at year 10, imagine where I'd be at that point. To me, that kind of haunts me a little bit. And my journey is my journey and I got to own it. But if I could go back, the one thing I would change is to swallow my pride and find a way to invest in myself, because that would have been the best return I could have gotten sooner.
Every entrepreneur, though, I will say, and I study entrepreneurs all the time, has gotten their absolute face kicked in at some point in time, gone to almost zero, and then had to build back. Like, so like when we were talking about Founders Podcast, the best entrepreneurs in the world, like Phil Knight, Nike for the first 15 years barely had any money in their bank account, and they were like on the brink of bankruptcy every day.
Multiple
and then
times,
like it'd be crazy times where like the bank would cancel out their loan. He's like, fuck, everything's over. We're gonna
payroll. It's done. Yeah.
Like this happens to every entrepreneur. And so if you go learn from those people's mistakes, number one, it makes it feel like you're not such an idiot. For me, like, okay, I'm not doing things terribly. Bad things are supposed to, like, bad things just happen. We get paid the big bucks because we take on the risk, and then we have the thick skin to continue walking as these bad things happen. Someone shoots us in the knee. We just have to wrap it up, and then we keep walking, and then eventually know someone's going to shoot us in our other knee. But do not, when it happens, now you get to a point like this is just a part of the game. I've gotten to the point where like, oh yeah, it sucks. I am not happy. But this is a part of the game, and this is the game I signed up for. Because a lot of people, I think it's just social media, like portray business as like this beautiful thing, to where Jensen Huang, the CEO of NVIDIA, they asked him if he could go back and start all over again, would he? He said, absolutely not. I would never do this again. And Jensen Huang is one of the richest people in the world. NVIDIA is one of the most lucrative companies ever. He's like, brother, I would never tell anybody to do this again. And he's a public CEO. He's been so for like 20 years. He's like, I would never do this again because of like the amount of heartache, anguish, hiccups, ups, downs. So as these mistakes come, you just got to know, like, it's a part of the game. Everybody's going to have a down, and then you keep going, right? Because Dean could have given up. And at the end of that, like 10 years, and we all see it in real estate or in business, a bunch of people will fade off, and they may do other things. They may just fall out of business altogether, and they just don't want to do it again. They're just like, hey, I do not want this for my life. And so it's okay if that's you, and then you know. But if that's not you, just know this is a part of the game. I always say this, you're built for this shit. The mistake came, you learn from it, and then you just got to take that next step forward, and now you wear a bulletproof vest instead of just walking around shirtless.
Mm-hmm. I want to hear your guys' opinion on selling properties too early, because I feel like we're talking about mistakes and this pain and stuff that you have, right? And one of the things that's helped me sleep soundly at night is, even though our rentals are not liquid assets and there's work involved in accessing the equity that's in them, right? There's been periods and times where I've gone through a lot of these struggles, and I always was like, well, shit, worst case scenario, I can just offload a couple of these little dog rentals that I don't want to deal with anymore, and I'm right back to zero, dude. And not like, I know lots of people, dude, that ran up from even before when I started in 2014, 15, that were like buying houses for $10,000, $20,000, dude, and making $10,000, $20,000 wholesale fees on them, never accumulated any rentals. And then when things changed or they made bad decisions or they got distracted, they don't have anything to fall back on, dude. And it's like, I don't get kept up at night about this because you make the decisions and you live with them. But when I said that out loud right now, like, I probably left $3 to $5 million worth of equity on the table easily with just the stuff that I sold. And just even saying that right now kind of makes me feel a little nauseous, dude. And it's like, damn, you know what I'm saying? So what are your thoughts on that? I know, Dean, you've transacted more than anybody on this call. I mean, I'm sure had you gone back, probably could have found a way to keep a couple more here, keep a couple more there. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So this is actually, I wrote down here on my notes, I wanted to really get into this and get an insight of where you were at in those periods of time. Cause here's my belief. I think it's easy to say, I wish I would have kept more properties. I hear that all the time. Right. And I think we definitely, I say it, other people say it. And the truth is, hindsight's always 20/20. If I would have kept more property, almost always, unless you get caught in just like the wrong time of the cycle, almost always you'll be better off. And the good thing is with inflation and the way history has shown itself, if you just hold on to the property, time will take care of it. It will heal all mistakes, right? If you bought it too high, just hold on to it. It will fix itself. That being said, if I had kept more properties, I would be 100% in the exact same spot. And when I think about the same, I know you're thinking the same thing, Jason, like, man, in some of these key years, if I would have kept these deals where I got them for $50,000 or $75,000, like anything under $100,000, which is almost impossible, right?
Impossible now.
And anytime we do, we're just like, oh man, I remember the good old days. Like we have a rental property in Fresno right now. We bought for $60,000. Now we put 60 into it. We'll be all in it for 120, but I mean, the thing's worth 250 easy, right? Easy. So we got a smoking deal on it. And that's something we just bought like, 3 months ago. But if we could go back in time and keep all those properties, they would be worth $300,000-$400,000 now and have hundreds of thousands of dollars equity per property. But in those points in times, at least speaking for myself, I was in a place where I did need that money. I did need to sell the house. I did need that money. And had I kept it, one of two things would have happened. Okay. I would have been a little tighter on cash, or in some cases, not most, because most of the properties we were getting so deep, we could refinance it and have no money left in the deal. But in some cases, we would also need to come out of pocket to keep some of those deals. Now, that's something I had never done or considered. And I would only keep properties that were the perfect BRRRR strategy, meaning I would buy it, remodel it, rent it, refinance it, and repeat it all over again with having little to no of my own money, basically none of my own money. And would cash out in many cases, until this past year when I just paid $250,000 out of my pocket of tax money after I had already had taxes taken out of W-2 income. Okay. And my taxes were like in the $350,000 to $400,000 when you look at everything. That's when I realized, holy crap, I didn't buy enough rentals. And so I just wired $50,000 this morning to complete a refinance, because I would rather put $50,000 into my own property than $50,000 to nobody else.
Yeah.
And when I say nobody else, that means when the IRS gets it, they're not giving it to anybody else that is in my community or any other communities I'm investing in, or I should even say for America for that matter. They're giving it to other countries. So like, why would I give it to them? I'd rather keep it in my own property.
America.
So
there we go, Captain America.
Yeah. Looking out for the people. So when it comes to, how many properties do I regret not keeping? There's certainly some, but there's many that I had to because I needed that money.
Here's what compounded my problem and why I sold properties is going back to the other regret that I had is just being a one-man army, being spread too thin, wearing every single hat. I didn't have the right financial pulse on my business. And I think at the beginning, we were talking about this when we were coming up with ideas for the pod yesterday, just understanding how to manage money in your business. Nobody talks to us about creating a pro forma and how much of a percentage of your revenue needs to go to this and how much to marketing and how much to payroll and how much to reserves. And you're literally just flying by the seat of your pants. At least I was at that time. Right. And I think that I know that if I had a better financial understanding of where I was at in my business, what cash conversion cycle I was in, how many properties that I had a pro forma set up, it would have been much easier for me to make an intelligent decision and look back without regret, because you make a lot of those decisions, at least I did, feeling like I need this money right now. Yeah. But I didn't really know, dude, because I wasn't, when you're a property manager, acquisitions, you're managing the rehabs, you're taking every single phone call, you're doing the books on the weekends, and every other thing that you're doing in your business, you don't have a full understanding of how to make proper decisions as a business owner, dude. And nobody really taught me how to do that. I just have figured that out through coaching and just experience over time. But I'm sure at some point, some of those properties, absolutely, I did need to sell because I did need that cash, right? And then there's other ones where, fuck, man, you know what I mean? You just think about it and it's done. And I don't really have regrets like that because everything happens for a reason. But talking about what we always talk about when we start this pod, it's like, I want all of you guys that are tuned in and listening to this to not make these mistakes. Like, you guys need to have a very tight finger on your pulse of where you're at from like a cash position in your business. You know what I'm saying? And don't make these decisions just based off your gut instinct or a feeling. You need to have real numbers and real data to back this up. And don't skimp on things like bookkeeping or accounting or taxes or all these other things that are like huge, right? I was so fucking cheap, dude. I would literally just be doing this stuff on a Google sheet, and then I would hand this humongous pile of mess to my CPA at the end of the year, and it's just like, what is all this stuff, dude? You don't even know what's going on. So don't skimp on stuff like that.
I would say,
go ahead.
I would say you can make an honest decision for a little while, like, do I need the cash or not? As you start to get momentum is when that decision's going to change. Like, and so we were thinking about buying one or selling it, and one of my mentors was like, bro, I don't know, what's better, 50 grand now or $2,000 a month? He was like, just make that choice. Like, which one do you need? Because if you need the 50 grand now, just make the decision, move on. And like the data, not drama thing plays a huge role into this. And because nobody on the internet talks about this, like, hey, how much are you spending a month? And then how much is reserves? And just for you to feel confident to make a decision month over month over month to know I can continue to spend the money. Because our business, it's pretty cyclical at the beginning. You're going to have ups, you're going to have good days, you're going to have bad days, you're going to have bad weeks. And your business eats cash in growth. So I'm glad we've taken some stuff down just so I could pull the emergency button when I need to offload something like, hey, all right, I actually need it. We're going to have to sell this. I need some cash. We can get it done. But at the beginning, man, odds are you just want to stack up cash because the thing that makes you the most money eats a lot of money at the beginning. Like, it's just going to eat up everything. It's going to eat up money because, hey, if we want to do another deal, you need to double your marketing spend. It's not like a little bit of a marketing spend. If you're like, you're going to have to double it if you want to do 2 deals a month now, because now you found out that number. Right. And so all those things. And so for a while, you are just going to keep outlaying it to where I would say Jason was able to go on that tear. I remember when we sold Jason a deal when I was with Alan, I was like, why the fuck is he buying this thing? This thing is a dog. This thing doesn't make any sense. I ran the numbers. But Jason at that point had already been churning and burning 5-6 years. So he was like, hey, this is
I'm
the goal.
Getting to this many doors. I don't care what happens. And there was a little bit of luck in that, dude, because you bought in this window of time where you could buy cheap, you could refinance at good rates, and we didn't see this massive appreciation. 2016 to 20, I probably picked up 50 to 75 doors, dude. And it was because I was so focused on doing that, man. You know what I'm saying? And it was like, honestly, looking back, one of the best decisions that I ever made to do all of that stuff, dude. And so now it's just a more difficult time to try to make those numbers work. And going back to the point that I was making, it's like, you need to understand how much working capital your business needs just to run for like at least 6 months, right? How much marketing do you need to keep deals coming in, right? And I would redline my account, dude. I would just be like, fuck it, we're all in, dude. I was just used to doing that. I would all the chips in the middle. Let's go. We'll figure it out. Let's go. And I can operate very well under that type of pressure, but it's still stressful and most people can't handle that, dude. And it's just not an optimal way to run a business. Absolutely not. It's not something that I recommend.
Go ahead, Dino. Then I think you got to hop.
Yeah, I got to hop after this, but I just wanted to put a bow on this topic because I think it's so important. Because I'll hear often people say, oh, I want to buy rentals, right? When they're just getting started. And that might be something that you're able to do, right? You might be in the financial position to do it. It might align with the goals that you're looking for. But I think the reality is you almost always need more money than you think, right? When it comes to exactly the point you were making, Stratt, with the marketing you need to account for over the next handful of months, with the cost just for you to live over the next couple of months, for you to have resources for the deals that you're doing. It's really important to be conservative on what you need as opposed to running it really thin. Because Jason, you said that it creates a lot of stress and that's just unnecessary. So that's where I was at the time. Now, were there some more rentals that I could have kept? Because here's the thing, you're going to get to a point where you're pushing to earn more income. You're pushing to make more net. You're pushing to say, I made X amount of dollars, and that's good, right? But at a certain point, you're going to realize that the more you do that, the more you're actually paying in taxes, right? Like I just experienced, the more that you're not actually growing the way that you want to. You're not building the wealth the way that you are wanting to. You're building in one area, but not really in the total comprehensive way. So there is a fine line between, adding more income versus adding more wealth with the rentals. And at a certain point, I think at the beginning, it's got to be all income. And then when you get to the point where you have enough,
an income
then you
problem,
can start to
and
balance
enough,
more.
and then you can start to actually get aggressive. That's what I think. I'm glad we bought some of our stuff, but like my sub 2 stuff, all that was a distraction. Like, I guess it showed me how to buy creative finance, but like we bought 2 of them. You're not going to buy a ton of sub 2 deals that make sense in Pencil and Fresno, California. We should have just flipped them, called it a day, moved on, because I mean, it's still another business that you got to pay a bookkeeper. You got to check in every quarter. Where are we at with this? What's this tenant doing? Blah, blah, blah. But we don't need those fucking metals for a couple $100 a month. Like, it's fine, bro. Sell them off. Keep your money. Keep the money train going. And then eventually, when you run into a tax issue, then I think it's time. All right, guys. Thanks for tuning in. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe. Shout out Shanae. Shanae, thank you for tuning in. I'll talk to you guys soon.
Peace.